This episode is brought to you by Simple Funding LLC. For all of your pre-settlement funding needs, contact Simple Funding LLC to receive your money promptly. They're a customer-centric legal funding company that provides exceptional funding solutions at affordable rates. Simple Funding covers a diverse range of cases, including car accidents, slip and falls, worker compensation, medical malpractice, wrongful death, and more. They recognize that life goes on and you need to access your funds immediately, which is why they offer clients a swift and efficient process with minimal documentation requirements. For more information, visit simplefundingllc.com or contact them directly at 678-855-6232. Enjoy the show. Welcome back to another episode of True Stories from a Real Private Eye. I'm your host, Vinnie Coppola. With me, as always, is Lynn Lambdin, a real private investigator in Atlanta, Georgia. What do you got for us this week, Lynn?
Well, I got a pretty good one, Vinnie. How are you doing today?
I'm good, buddy. A lot better than yesterday.
Well, good. This is not really of anything that involves me doing a job, but it leads to show you how corrupt police officers can be, even on a small scale.
Okay.
One night back between 2007 and 2009, I'm not exactly sure what year it was, but it was somewhere in that time span there. It was probably between 11:30 and 12 o'clock at night. And I know this because I know where I was coming from. I was attending a flight school to be a A&P mechanic. I love school. I love education, so I just gather it where I can. Mm-hmm. And so I was coming home one night, and I was coming up Georgia 400, and a Sandy Springs police officer pulled me over. I'm sorry, I got allergies and my nose is itching a little bit today, Vinny. No. And so as I'm coming up 400, this, to say the least, this cocky police officer pulls me over. And me working as a private investigator full time, I take my tape recorder out, and I'm getting it turned on, and I'm trying to set it in my door handle, and lo and behold, I fumble around and drop it. Well, as he's walking up to my door, I'm trying to get it up and get it in my little door handle there, and I'm afraid he's thinking I'm getting a gun. And I said, "Oh, sorry, officer, I've dropped my phone."
Yeah.
So he proceeds to tell me how fast I was going. Well, he asked me how fast I was going. I don't know. And he proceeds to tell me how fast I was going. And I said, "Well, officer," I said, "can you do an accuracy test on your radar gun?" He said, "I don't have to do an accuracy test." I said, "Okay." And then he proceeded to tell me why he didn't have to do an accuracy test. "We don't have to do an accuracy test because it's against the law for you to sit in my car," and all this other stuff. Well, in the state of Georgia,
is that something that some of us should be asking police officers who pull us over?
Well, with radar, not with laser, but with radar, with both radar and laser, there's certain laws, and you would have to look them up to know exactly what they are, but you can Google OCGA in the state of Georgia.
OCGA? Yeah,
the official code of Georgia.
Official code of Georgia.
Yeah, and you can Google any law there, and that'll tell you what the state law is on any law.
Okay.
And I'm sure that you can do that for any state. I do it for other states also, for Tennessee, Alabama, South Carolina, all the surrounding states that I work in. If I want to know a law, I go there and look it up. Not OCGA, but for their state law.
So you were sure he was using radar to clock you?
Yeah, I asked him, and he said he told me he was using radar.
Okay.
And so in the law, in the code section 40- whatever it was, says that if you ask a police officer to do a radar, to do an accuracy test, he shall do an accuracy test, which is a very powerful word in law. So he refused to do this accuracy test. He kind of laughed at me and told me how ignorant I was. So
now your tape recorder's running, right?
Tape recorder's running.
Okay.
So we,
do you still have that recording, Lynn?
I may have it.
Okay.
I'm going to check, and if I do, I'll get it over to you so you can upload it.
Okay. All right. So so for those of you listening, if we wind up getting this recording, listen till the end. I'll put it at the end of the podcast. So you can
and Vinny, I have wore out so many tape recorders.
Yeah.
because I record my conversations when I'm interviewing people, and when I'm doing phone interviews, I record people, and it just doesn't take long to wear out a recorder. You break a button off of it.
Yeah.
And I've carried them for a million miles, and you drop them, you break them, and I don't just drop something. When I drop it and kick it.
Yeah. So don't count on it, ladies and gentlemen.
But I may have it. I may be able to produce it.
Okay.
But I'll tell you where you can find the records. If anybody ever wants to go pull the records to this, they can go to the Sandy Springs Municipal Court and just Google my name, or just, you wouldn't Google it. You would just go pull the records, go to the computer, put my name in, and you can pull the file. It's right there.
Okay.
And you can pull the whole file. I wouldn't bring it up to the judge because I did piss the judge off. But
okay.
So the police officer,
refuses to do, yeah.
He refuses to do the test. He tells me what an idiot I am, and tells me that I can't sit in his car while he and witness this accuracy test, which that's not what the law calls for. The law says that he has to get the tuning forks, and he has to do the accuracy test, and he has to log the accuracy test in the logbook. Nowhere in the accuracy test does it say that I have to be a witness to this accuracy test. So time passes. I go to court. And I knew it was going to be trouble when I got there at 8:30 as my subpoena called for. And I was the last one to be called. And when I said not guilty, they all kind of huffed and puffed. And the prosecutor finally got to me, because they ask you if you want to have a sidebar with the prosecutor. And I said, yeah, I'd love to have a sidebar with the prosecutor. So I tried to plead my case to the prosecutor, and the prosecutor said, nah, we're not going to do it. We'll just try your case. We're not going to talk to you about it. They said, but.
Did he give a reason, or he just said no?
No, it was I think the prosecutor was female. The judge was female, and I'm pretty sure the prosecutor was female. She just said, no, they said, we got you dead to rights, and we're going to push this all the way to the max. I said, okay. They said, but you're going to have to sit here all day long because the police officer's out on the street and you're last.
Ugh.
Exactly.
Ugh.
So I got there at 8:30 in the morning, and I sat there all day long. I watched every trial that came through there. And it's a female judge, and which I didn't mind sitting there. I mean, I hated to sit there and waste my day because I wasn't making any money, but I didn't mind sitting there observing and learning, so.
I'm fascinated by I'm fascinated by the judicial process. I love courtroom dramas, love movies about court. So I would dig it, but I of course hate to waste my day. But
Vinnie, there's nothing fair in court. It's all rigged against you.
I'm sure
100%. The court system is rigged against you. Now, one thing that I would like to say, I would like to offer Sandy Springs police or the judge to come on this podcast and discuss this with you and I.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want a police officer, because I've went to police departments and I have tried to discuss cases with police officers. They'll bring in the sergeant or whoever the head person is, and then they'll bring in 2 or 3 other police officers to try to intimidate you so that you can't say anything. So it's you against 3 or 4 people.
Right.
And then they try to shove department policy down your throat, and you really can't say anything, and you really can't debate with them, you can't argue with them, and you can't really have a conversation with them because they're not there to have a conversation. They're there to shove their thoughts and their policy down your throat.
Right.
So I've tried several times on several different occasions, and we will go over those later on.
Okay.
But you can't talk to them. There is absolutely no talking to a police officer. So if this police officer, and he knows who he is because I beat him twice now. And then he was
let's just be clear. Beat him in the courts.
Beat him in the courts.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
And the judge knows who she is because it was a female judge. It was a longtime female judge in the Fulton County, in the Sandy Springs judicial system. Now, with that being said, let's finish the story and then we'll come back to this part.
Okay.
So I'm sitting here in court. About 3:00 rolls around, and they come back to me. I'm the only one there. It's me, the judge, and the prosecutor, and the lady who does all the paperwork. And they said, do you want to plead guilty? I said, no. I told you I'll have my trial. So they said, we'll have to get the police officer off the street. I said, you told me that at 10:00 this morning. What's the problem? Sandy Springs not that big.
Yeah.
Get him off the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
So about 4:00,
Oh boy.
this arrogant a-hole comes walking in with this smirk on his face, like, you're getting ready to go down, boy.
Yeah.
So they start the trial, and of course they have to put their case on first because the prosecution has to prove their case. So I'm being my own attorney. So
did they offer to get you a court-appointed attorney? Did they offer you one?
well, they asked me if I was indigent, and I said no. I didn't want a court-appointed attorney because I didn't need one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I mean, you deal with lawyers all the time. You've been in the private investigating game for a long time. You pretty much know the law.
And I'm not intimidated by some ignorant a-hole who has no idea what the law is, being the police officer.
Right. Right.
I'm not intimidated by some judge who thinks that she wields all the power over you because she's a judge.
Right.
And
I think that's what it is. Sorry to interrupt, Lynn. I think that's what it is when you say you can't talk to cops, when you can't talk to these people, the court is rigged against you. I think it's all about the power. They got the power. They know they got the power, and you're not going to take it from them.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I had a lawyer buddy of mine tell me that I was the police and the court's worst nightmare because I knew the law and I knew how to use it, and I wasn't afraid to enforce it.
Yeah.
And that made them hate me.
Yeah.
With a passion because I wasn't afraid to use that.
Yeah.
And they do hate me with a passion. They can't stand me. Judges don't like me. Now attorneys like me when I'm testifying on their behalf because I don't let anybody run over me.
Right.
And that's including. I mean, I'm respectful to judges.
Right. Of course.
And I'm not very respectful to police officers when it comes to this because I don't like to be lied to or on.
Right.
And when you do that, it kind of it irritates me and it makes me mad. But so they start the trial, and the prosecutor, prosecutors with their little smirk on their face, and the police officers on the stand with his little smirk on his face, and the police officer starts explaining how he's qualified to run the radar, and how he caught me doing 90 mile an hour in a 65 mile an hour zone. You're familiar with 400, and so. Then he gets to the part where it's my time to ask questions. They don't know what I do for a living.
Right.
So I come up there and I play dumb. I got everything written out on paper, typed out on paper, printed out, So I get up there and I'm acting like I'm real nervous and I'm asking the cop questions and he's playing right into my hands. I mean, he's just, he's as dumb as I think he is.
Right.
And, I'm asking him, did you calibrate your radar within so many hours of using your radar? Did you log it? Are you certified? Where's your certification? All these things that are required by law in order for him to run radar. Mm-hmm. So I said, now, and under code section 40 - whatever it was, I said, it says here that if the suspect asks you to do a calibration test, you shall perform that calibration test. I said, did I ask you to do that calibration test? No, you didn't.
Oh, shit. So he's lying now.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. So I asked a couple more questions, and I come back and I said, I just got to ask this question again. Now I'm starting to lose that dumb act. Now I'm starting to lose that Gomer Pyle act.
As James Gregory would say, you were goobering it up a little bit.
I was goobering it up a lot.
Yeah.
Now the little nervous paper shaking and everything is gone. I lay the paper down on the podium, and now I'm doing everything just from the top of my head.
Yeah.
And now I'm not talking in that real nervous voice. Now I'm asserting my dominance.
Right.
I said, sir, That's officer to you. I said, sir, I said, when you pull me over, I said, did I ask you to do a radar calibration? No, you didn't. I've answered that question once. What part of no don't you understand? You having trouble with that? And I said, Judge, I said, I see that you got cameras and microphones in here everywhere. I said, is it recording? She said, yes, it is. What's your point? I said, officer, when you walked up to my car, I said, you remember me fumbling with something? I said, that wasn't my cell phone. I said, that was a tape recorder. And I said, Your Honor, I said, if you'll tell that nice police officer back there at the metal detector who wouldn't let me bring it in earlier to let me bring it in, I said, I'll play it for you.
Yeah.
And I said, now, officer, I'm going to ask you again. Did I ask you to do a calibration test? No, you didn't.
Yeah.
I said, Your Honor, I said, I want to ask for a mistrial, and I want to bring this guy up on perjury and impeach him as a witness.
Yeah.
Now, if I impeach him as a witness and get him on perjury charges,
Yeah.
I've got him saying 3 times that I did not ask him for a calibration test, and I've got him on tape where I did ask him for a calibration test.
Right.
So if he gets brought up, if the judge would have had the trial, he could have never been a police officer. Because if you get brought up on a crime of moral turpitude, you can't be a police officer because you can't testify.
Right.
So his career's over.
Yeah.
Now, here's the problem I have with it. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. So the judge says sidebar. And I said, Your Honor, you can't do a sidebar because I'm the other side. A sidebar is for the attorneys, so you can talk to the prosecutor and myself. I said, so just talk to us. She said, Mr. Lambdin, if you don't sit down, I'll have you arrested.
What?
Exactly. I said, no. I said, you can't have a sidebar. She said, officer, detain him.
Oh my God.
So I sit down. So the prosecutor, the police officer, and the judge goes over there and they talk without me hearing.
Right.
And I guess the police officer admitted to her that I did ask for an accuracy test.
Right.
So they come back and they said, Mr. Lambdin, we're going to dismiss this case. You can leave. I said, Your Honor, I don't want to leave. I said, I do want the case dismissed, but I want him brought up on perjury charges and I want an impeachment. I said, I want him impeached as a witness and I want him brought up on perjury charges. Yeah. And the judge says, Mr. Lambdin, you got my decision. Leave now. I said, Your Honor, I said, if he would lie about something as simple as a speeding ticket, he would lie about the murder he's going to do next week.
Yeah.
Or I said, if one of his friends murders somebody, he would lie about that. Or I said, if his girlfriend's husband gets in the way, he'll lie about murder and then him. She said, Deputy, arrest him and take him to jail.
You?
Yes.
Oh my God.
So I just picked up my stuff and left.
Oh man.
Because I didn't want to go to jail.
Right.
For contempt of court for just trying to get the right thing done.
Right.
So I went back and tried to get the video recording or the sound recording, and they wouldn't let me have it.
They didn't give it back to you?
No, they wouldn't give me the sound recording.
From the court case or the thing that you recorded?
No, from the court case. I had my recording.
Oh, okay.
They didn't let me bring it in.
Well,
so
of course not. Because if you were to pursue it within another jurisdiction or whatever, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I could have appealed it to the Superior Court,
right?
This was a traffic court case.
Yeah,
but the time and money and hiring an attorney, because I couldn't have tried the case in the Superior Court case,
right?
wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
If it had happened to me today, I would pursue it.
Right.
Because now I have the time. I don't have the time now. I really don't have the time. But now I have the money and I have the name recognition in the industry.
Right.
And I have enough attorney friends in the industry that I wouldn't have had to pay $25,000 to get it pursued.
Right.
I would have destroyed Sandy Springs. I would have destroyed that judge and I would have destroyed that police officer.
Yeah.
So fast forward about a year and a half down the road, I'm driving down 400. A car merges over and hits me. Call the police. This guy's wanting to fight on the side of 400. Police officer, I won't get out of my car and fight with him. Although I could have just taken my door and bumped him, he would have went right out into 400 and they would have ran over him because this was in rush hour traffic.
Right.
For the police shows up and lo and behold, it's this idiot.
Oh God.
So he don't even get my side of the story. He writes me a ticket. And I said, look, buddy, I said, I got 2 dash cams. I said, I got the one in the center and there's one on my map program, my GPS. I said, can I just show you the video? He said, no, you're at fault. I said, look, I'm just going to embarrass you in court again.
Yeah.
I said, I'm just going to embarrass you again.
Yeah.
And
Right.
So I won that court case. And the dude got...
Okay, so it did. It went to court?
Actually, it got dismissed before it went to court. I don't know why it got dismissed. That was very unusual.
He probably backtracked on it. He probably pissed backwards. He probably came to his senses.
Probably. He probably mentioned something to a supervisor, and the supervisor said, well, you better get rid of this because if he's got actually dash cam again, which he did have the first time.
Yeah.
And by the way, I was speeding the first time.
Right. Oh, sure.
But he didn't do his job.
Right.
All he had to do was lose that cocky, self-righteous attitude and do his job.
Yeah.
And he had me dead to rights.
Yeah.
But since he was above the law and didn't have to follow the law, he lost the case.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
and thankfully so. I mean, guys like that need, we need more people like you put these people in their place. I mean,
but anyway, on the second case, when the guy's insurance found out that my insurance wasn't going to pay for it because I had video of the accident that showed that he was at fault.
Yeah.
The guy called me up and threatened to kill me.
Yeah.
So my son figured out who the guy was from the police report, ran his name, and he's a youth minister in Marietta.
A youth minister wanted to kick your ass on the side of 400 and is now threatening to kill you.
Yeah. So I called the pastor. I called the pastor of the church and let him hear the recording and told him I was going to put it on social media. And they fired the guy, got rid of him. No, he's no longer a youth minister.
Yeah, well, nice.
So here's the point. The reason I tell you this story, Vinny.
Yeah.
You hear about police officers killing people on the streets or brutalizing people or misconduct all the time. Judges know which police officers are good and which police officers are bad.
Yeah.
I just proved that.
Yeah.
Now, you can go to Sandy Springs and you can pull that court case. It's right there for the world to see.
Yeah.
Now, this judge knows that this police officer does bad things. He lies in court. Now, this police officer has this judge by the short hairs. The next time he comes in court and lies, the judge can't do anything about it.
Right.
Because if the judge tries to do something about it, all he's got to do is say, look, judge, you let me off on this all the time. Go ahead, say something this time, and I'm going to bring up all the other cases that you let me walk on.
Yeah.
So we're both going down.
Right. Right.
So judges should never let a lying police officer or a corrupt police officer get away with corruption.
Right.
Because the judge is just as corrupt as the police officer.
They're in it together.
Because that police officer, that judge knew that police officer was corrupt.
Yeah.
She knew that police officer lied right there in court. She knew that he lied to the point to where that they dismissed my case and didn't even listen to the evidence. That tells me that he had lied in court before.
Right.
Because if she had so much trust in him, she would have asked to listen to my recording, wouldn't she?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But since that this police officer had lied in court so many times before, she couldn't even listen to the video or to the audio recording because the police officer would have said to her, Judge, I'm just going to roll on you.
Yeah.
I'm just going to roll on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's go.
Yeah.
So now this police officer can do anything he wants.
Right.
Now, Vinny, where did you and I meet at? We met at the Punchline in Sandy Springs, didn't we?
Punchline in Sandy Springs. That's right.
Which police department was over that jurisdiction? The Sandy Springs Police Department, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want me to tell you how many police officers I watched come in there and buy cocaine?
Oh my God.
in uniform.
Really? In uniform?
In uniform.
Really?
I bet that they were a minimum of 5 or 6.
Yeah.
One of the people who sold them the cocaine is dead. I won't mention his name, but
I know who you're talking about.
everybody that worked at the Punchline knows this man.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other one that sold the cocaine, he moved out of the state of Georgia, and he now lives in another state. And I'm not going to mention the state because I'm not going to badmouth him. I love the guy. He's a really nice guy.
I know who you're talking about. I know both these guys, man, and he's a sweetheart. I know.
He is a sweetheart. He is. I love him to death. He's a sweetheart. Yeah. I've not got one bad thing to say about him. I've worked with you.
You know, as Vito Corleone would say, doesn't make no difference to me how a man makes a living. That was a terrible Marlon Brando.
But I watched both of them.
Yeah.
Sell the Sandy Springs Police Department cocaine.
Right.
On many, hundreds of occasions.
In uniform.
In uniform. Yep.
See, you know what that tells me, Lynn? That tells me that these two guys that you and I are talking about, these two guys that worked at the Punchline, had run-ins with the police before. So now they know what they do, and they pretty much probably have a license to continue doing that because they got cops on their side.
Well, the one that passed away, was in the passenger seat of a car one night, and the car got pulled over, and he stepped out of the car and stepped in a ditch and curled his ankle and walked away from the scene, and they never done anything to him.
Right.
But we know why.
Yeah.
But I watch police officers come in there time after time after time after time after time, especially on Friday and Saturday night.
Yeah.
Because, Friday and Saturday night, we were open late. We did 2 and 3 shows, sometimes 4, depending on who was there. And they would come in there and they would buy their drugs, buy their cocaine. I watched it many times.
Yeah.
And I promised the police officer in Sandy Springs, the last run-in I had with Sandy Springs, I promised him that I would tell the world what they were like.
Yeah.
And now the world's going to know. And this is only one of the stories I'm telling.
Right.
This is only one. I've got several more coming about Sandy Springs and their corruption. The good news is, on the next one I tell, I got documentation. I got body cam, police officers' body cams. I got police reports.
Right.
I got arrest reports. I got everything you want to know.
Okay.
So it's only going to get better on Sandy. Sandy Springs is one of the most corrupt police departments that I've ever ran into. I've only ran into one that's more corrupt than Sandy Springs, and that's South Fulton. And boy, they are corrupt.
Really?
Yeah.
Really? So I love it. I love it, Lynn. This podcast isn't just about true crime stories. It's about exposing the corruption now. I love it.
Well, I will contact the gentleman who moved out of state. I will contact him because I still know how to make contact with him. I don't talk to him much.
Right.
You and I have a mutual buddy that lives in the same state that he lives in.
Okay.
And I will ask him if he wants to come on and talk about it.
Oh, okay.
If he does, the statute of limitations is passed. They can't do anything to him.
Right.
If he wants to talk about it, we'll let him come on and talk about it. If he don't, we'll never mention his name.
Okay.
I would never, ever tell anybody who he is.
No, of course not.
Like I said, I love the guy to death. He's
very, very good friend. Very good friend.
He's a very good friend. Love him to death. I'd do anything. If he called me up tomorrow and asked me to do something for him, I'd go do it for him. I do not have one thing against him. Love him to death.
Me too.
I worked beside him in 2 different clubs in my young life, and never had a harsh word for him or against him or anything. Never. Always.
Same here, buddy. When I would work the Punchline, seeing him, hanging with him, and he was such a jokester. He was so funny.
Yeah.
I don't know if he ever got on stage, but I've always said to him, I said, dude, why don't you do this? And he was so funny. One
of the favorite things that he ever done was, if you ever forgot your camera at the Punchline, he wouldn't take your camera. He would just take pictures of his pecker.
Oh yeah, I've heard those stories. Yeah,
and then give your camera back to you when you come to get it.
Yeah. What the heck? Yeah. He was.
Didn't you see having pictures of your birthday party and you're thumbing through and this was when 35 millimeter.
Right,
Come to
right,
film
right.
me going, what the mom?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he did stuff like that all the time.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and I could point the police officers out to you. One of the police officers I know got fired from the force because he got caught with the drugs. They didn't prosecute him. They did nothing. All they done was release him from the force.
Right,
Which, why should they release him from the force? Why didn't they prosecute him?
right.
But the others, they didn't prosecute. I mean, the other ones still. I mean, I don't know if they still work there or not. I left there in 2007, I guess. So it's been that long since I left there. So they may not even be on the force anymore. But that just goes to show you what kind of force Sandy Springs has.
Right.
So But going back to the point earlier, I would love for the police officer to come on and talk to us, not argue with us, not scream and yell, not have an attitude, but just talk to us. And I would love for the judge to come on and under the same conditions, just have a conversation, just talk to us. Tell us why they would let a police officer lie like this and not do anything about it. Why would you jeopardize your morals? Why would you jeopardize your position? Because you're jeopardizing your position because this police officer now has power over you. He now wields power over you. He can now tell you what he wants. Look, my girlfriend's coming in here. She stole $500,000 from the bank. Let her go. If you don't let her go, I'm coming out some things on you. Because you're compromised.
Yep.
So the police officer puts the judge in a compromising position, and the judge is now compromised, and the judge cannot. I mean, the judge is now at the whim of the corrupt police officer,
Right.
by allowing the police officer to do this.
Yeah.
And the judge can say, "No, I'm not." But the police officer comes in and lies about a small thing today, and the lie gets a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger, till the lie is so big that now you're so compromised that it's a huge thing. And now the reason that I say this is next week we're going to talk to a man by the name of Jimmy Hill. His son was killed by a police officer, and his name is Jimmy Atkinson, and he was unarmed. He was a kid. He was like 21 years old, I think, when he got killed. Police officer blew his head completely off. He was unarmed.
Was this here in Georgia?
It sure was.
Okay.
And his father's been fighting for several years to try to get the police officer charged. And the whole system is so corrupt they can't even get him charged. He'll do it in Sandy Springs. It was in the city of Atlanta. But Jimmy will tell you all about it.
Okay, so we're going to have him on next week.
We're going to have him on next week.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you something, Lynn. Based on all that you have seen with the corruption in the Sandy Springs Police Department, the corruption in South Fulton, and corruption in possibly other police departments, have you lost faith in police, or do you still, for the most part? Because I'll let you answer that, and then I'll tell you what I think. But what is your opinion about police in general?
I do not trust police, Vinnie.
Okay.
I do not trust police. I would not. There's very few police officers that I trust. I guess I see the bad side of police because of the business I'm in. Mm-hmm. But then on the other side, I get pulled over for a speeding ticket, and I catch a police officer dead to rights lying.
Yeah.
And this is not hearsay. You can go to the courts and pull the file.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the files have been doctored, but they can only doctor them so much. And you can see that my case ended very abruptly with me being threatened of arrest, and I ran. So,
yeah.
So not just the things that I see, but with the one threatening to kill me over the Terrell Peterson case, I was threatened by another police officer in DeKalb County. We'll talk about it another time. He didn't threaten to kill me, but he did threaten to take me to jail for every traffic violation in the country because he was mad at me. And, and then this happening, and then this police officer killing Jimmy Atkinson. And, I have no faith in them. I mean, I just don't. First of all, in order for you to practice law, you have to be an attorney.
Right.
But a police officer can go out and practice law, and then you don't even have to have a college degree.
Right. Yeah, I see what you're saying.
A police officer goes out and says, well, I'm going to charge you with this, and I'm going to charge you with that. And they don't even have a college degree. They just say, here, read this book, interpret this law.
What percentage of police officers do you think actually know the law? I mean, literally know it.
Well, there's some good ones. Like Ken Krause was a great one. He's highly educated. Yeah. And I got a couple of buddies that are police officers. And I got a buddy that's a good friend of mine, and he's a police officer here in Milton, and his attitude is very good, and he's not one of these that has a chip on his shoulder. He's not one of these that he's very humble, and he's very down to earth, and he's not looking to take somebody to jail. He's one of these guys that'll pull you over, and if you're nice to him, he'll probably let you go with a warning. Right. Now, if you got an attitude, he'll probably write you up.
Yeah. I never understood people who, I used to have a neighbor who every time a cop would pull over, she'd smart mouth and blah, 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 and go and F you and F you that, and you're blah, blah, blah. I'm like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Just yes, sir, no, sir. No, fuck him. I'm like, you're crazy.
Yeah.
You're crazy. They got guns. What are you doing? And not only that, if he's in a bad mood and then he pulls you over and you start smart mouthing him, things are going to get worse for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, so I understand that. I understand your friend who, if you're gonna get cocky with him, and you want to know something? I don't blame him.
I don't either. I don't either.
I don't either. Yeah.
Like my buddy, he's got a good attitude. He's typically joking. He's got a kind of a dry sense of humor. He'll make you think he's not joking when he really is.
Right.
But he's always joking, and even when he's in a bad mood, you don't know it, and he's still joking with you. And he's just, I ask him all the time, I say, what kind of day did you have? Did you have anything funny happen? Anything crazy happen? And he'll tell you about crazy things that happens. And he'll say sometimes, I didn't really want to take him to jail, but I kind of had to because of the situation. Right. And he'll even say things like, even though I had to take him to jail, we still joked about it and stuff, and which is, I understand things like that. And I've been pulled over before, and I got pulled over coming out of Rome, Georgia, flying. I mean, I was just moving on. State trooper pulls me over, and he pulls me over right on a curb. And I said, look, buddy, I said, I'm not going to run from you. I said, but we need to get off this curb. I said, you're going to get killed standing there.
Yeah.
And I said, I would really feel bad to get you killed just for speeding.
Yeah.
He said, okay. He said, see that driveway up there about a quarter of a mile? He said, just pull up there in that driveway.
Yeah,
so I pulled up in the driveway, and he pulled up behind me, and he pulled up, and he said, you know what? He said, I really appreciate that. He said, I appreciate you looking out for my life. He said, I'm just going to write you a warning.
Yeah.
And, but even if he would have been nasty to me, I still didn't want to see the man get killed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if he would have been a bad guy, I didn't want to see the man get killed.
Right.
I'm coming out of coming down 575. I was way up 575 one day, coming down through there. I fly everywhere I go, Vinnie. I got a lot of speeding tickets.
Yeah.
And a police officer pulls me over, and it was hot. I mean, just a hot summer's day in Georgia. You know how hot it gets in Georgia. And I said, I keep in the summertime when I was on the road all the time, I'd keep a ice water cooler with ice in it and keep bottles of water in it. And I said, here, buddy, just have a nice water. I said, it's hot out there and you're on the side of the road all day. And he goes, you know what? He said, I'm just going to reduce this down to 10 miles over the speed limit to save you some money.
Yeah. That's a good guy.
So there's some good police officers out there.
I bumped into a few, but what I found, Lynn, is, and I bet you this works even, and because I couldn't tell personalities, good guy, bad guy, but I bet you it works even if you got an asshole. And I found that if you just tell him the truth, and if you're respectful, you will usually get off. Like one time coming back from the punchline, and you know how things go after the show. Sometimes you go over to that little jazz club afterwards. You have a couple of drinks. Now I'm driving home. It's 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm a little tipsy. All right. And I get out there on Roswell Road, and I make that right, and now I have to go left so I can go to I-75. So I make a U-turn. Here come the lights.
Yeah.
Guy pulls me over, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm going to jail. Because I'm a little bit tipsy.
Yeah.
And the officer pulls me over. He goes, son, do you know why I pulled you over? I go, yes, sir, I do. He goes, why? I said, because I made an illegal U-turn. He goes, why did you do that? I said, I was too lazy to go to the light. And he laughed. And he laughed, and he goes, can you make it home, son? He knew I was drunk.
Yeah.
He goes, can you make it home, son? I go, yes, sir, I can. He goes, all right, I'm going to let you out for the warrant. So let me go.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was probably one of the customers.
One of the customers?
Yeah,
he probably saw the show. Yeah.
He probably been in the kitchen.
Yeah, right. Oh, right. He was in the kitchen. Yeah.
He probably come through the back door.
Yeah, that's right.
I can't believe as many times as you'd been there, you'd never seen him come through the back door.
Lynn, I may have, but it's just not one of those memories. I'm like, oh, there's a cop coming back, and just
it never registered. You never knew what they were doing. You probably never seen him go into the kitchen and corner them.
I'm sure I've seen him. I'm sure I've even said hello to him, or whatever, as walking by, whatever. But it's just nothing that, registered as like, oh, let's imprint this in your memory, whatever. Right.
Well, Vinny, the thing about me being there is I never drank. I worked there for 17 years, and I never drank. Never done any drugs, never smoked, never done any of that. So I was always sober as a judge.
Right.
So those things kind of stuck with me because I was always, sober.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I remembered those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I always thought it was kind of suspicious. A cop car pulling up the back door and coming into the building and being there about 2 minutes and leaving.
Talking to one of the cooks. What are you here for? The chicken, the chicken wings? What are you doing here?
Yeah. When did you start buying chicken wings in baggies?
Yeah, right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
That's good, buddy. That's good.
Yeah,
this is cool, man. And folks, come on back for Jimmy Atkins. Is that who we're going to have?
Atkinson, yeah.
Jimmy Atkinson's next week.
Well, the father is Jimmy Hill.
Okay.
Yeah, the kid was Jimmy Atkinson.
Oh, the one who got killed.
Yeah, and it's a sad story, very sad story, and his father's just heartbroken and just trying to get justice. And I think that they finally have indicted the police officer, or the grand jury has suggested an indictment. And
so he's going to tell us some more about police corruption, police corruption that he has seen.
Yeah, well,
just like you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, worse than I've ever seen.
Okay.
Yeah, worse than I have ever seen, Vinny. This is you lose a son. This guy walks the streets of Atlanta carrying a sign that says, "Ask me about my son."
Yeah. Boy, I don't even want to think about it. Wow.
And that's how I met him. Is you got a sign that says, "Ask me," and I'm going to ask.
Yeah. That's
just an open invitation for me.
Yeah.
You can say, "Ask me about anything," and I'm going to stop and talk to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, come on back for that one. That's going to be a good one. Thank you so much for being here, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Vinnie Coppola. If you like stand-up comedy or goofy videos, please check me out. All my social media links can be found on my website, vinnie.com, www.vinnie.com. If you need a detective, if you need to find somebody, serve someone papers, have someone surveilled, Lynn Lambdin is one of the best. Find him on his website. Lynn, tell him your website.
www.lwias.com. Once again, that is lwias.com.
Right. And thanks once again, Simple Funding, for sponsoring this episode. Stick around. If we have the recording, if Lynn can find the recording, we're gonna play it at the end of this episode, because what we do is we tape this and then we put it out there. We're not doing this live. So if we can find it, we'll put it on there for you. If not, thank you very much. We will see you next week. Thank you very much.